Hey folks, we are going to continue working on the Crystals of Mabar art assets. We're doing maps today for the Village Massacre. Give me a second here to check my signal and go through my intro spiel, and then we'll get to work here for a bit. So hold on, let me make sure my volume's good. There. And let's see if I'm live. Mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 3. Mic check, mic check. Yep, sounds good. All right. Blip, blop, blip, blip, blop. Bop, bop, bop. Bop. There. Sorry, I'm trying to, there we go, get my twit going. Cool. And let's see. Bit bop, boop, bop, bop, copy, paste. Okay, cool. So let's see. Let's go through my intro spiel here, and then we'll get started. So hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them, and then I publish them online. I've been focusing my attention on Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition here for the past 5 years, publishing my work on the DMsGuild. There are numerous links in the description down below to the different works that I've produced in the past they have extensive free previews for people to check them out. If you're normally here just for the artwork, there's probably about 150 different illustrations among the books that are just linked down below. And if you are here for Dungeons and Dragons 5e, like game design or DM philosophy or game stuff, then you can. They have free previews. I run games from level 1 to 20 about every 200 to 250 hours. So you can, when I build stuff, it's for either the campaigns that I'm currently running and I need more tools, or they're tools for campaigns I plan to run. And there's a toolkit that I've been building for how to thread together plots and build encounters and challenges out of that, kind of like an adventure design kit sort of thing. And this adventure that we're creating right here, Crystals of Mabar, is a sort of an example of how that structuring works. Now, we've talked a lot about like different pathings of both plot and physical locations for characters to traverse and explore, and how to switch up between different types of encounters between combat, exploration, and social. And we have a lot of that language inside of this adventure, which we can then use as a reference to point to how these different principles can be used in adventure design when we get to building that book. So yeah, so this is where are we at? Let's see. I just published that I'm live on Twitter, so you can follow me on Twitter at Phil Kearney. Best way to support the channel is to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notifications. My next big milestone is 500 subscribers, and we're at 229 right now. We've really grown in the past year. I really appreciate that. Most of this has been in the past 10 months. So thanks a lot for folks that are showing up and checking it out and sticking around. Speaking of sticking around, we're at episode 171. We created this book cover like around episode 40, I want to say. So you can check the Wayback Machine on our Eberron Adventure playlist and see us building this thing. But right now we are working on the Village Massacre map. Blood soaks and all. So what we need to do is get into our adventure content here. Hold on, let me peel open this without accidentally closing it. Eberron. So let's jump open this document here. This is our edited document. So I'm going to scroll down to the, there we go. I'm going to scroll down to where it's actually discussing the location of the village, region 1, Thorpe Peace. The name of the Thorpe is piece. A thorp is a very small, more than a settlement, not quite a village. You got a thorp. Let's see. Come too late. If you need to save time, or if you feel it would be more impactful for your players, you can have characters arrive after the undead attack instead of before. In this case, their investigation should discover that the villagers made a last stand in the Thorp's Commons building, and that the undead that attacked came from the Carnwood. Farms and homesteads. There are over 20 farms in the surrounding countryside. If the characters choose to invest time exploring the farmhouses and homesteads beyond the Thorp's town square, refer to the farmhouse map provided as a separate asset alongside this adventure, which is what we worked on 2 weeks ago, the homesteads and the farmhouses. So, hey, Dennis, how you doing? This is going to be a published book. This is the Crystals of Mabar, the 8th level Eberron adventure that we've been developing for the past year or so. Here's the book cover. It'll be on the DMsGuild. There's a ton of links in the description down below to other works I put on the DMsGuild. You can see the eye icon on mobile phones, or if you're on a desktop, there'll be a full preview link underneath the book cover on the individual product page. And you'll see extensive previews for all the stuff that I've built previously. This too will have an extensive preview once it's completed. But up till now, the 171 episodes that we've done so far have honestly been all the map and token assets needed for printing out as black and white maps, or like I prefer Roll20, but any would do. But you could load all this stuff into Roll20 and then run the adventure online in a VTT if you wish. So right now there's two formats to this village. Everyone's alive and everyone's been killed by undead. So previously we built out like this is the commons area prior to everyone being slaughtered. But right now we're in the process of putting in bloody footprints and blood splatters in the different locations on the map. And so we're going through the document square by square. Let's see, resting region A, events, undead attack. So yeah, we're going through the different regions here, and each map section has before the attack and after the attack. So we're just going from area to area to area, looking at what the description is that we have, and making sure that the blood and chaos that we mark up this document with are matching the description in the text blocks here. So that's what we're doing today. We're adding gore to the environment. So I'm going to zoom in and grab a batch of color here. Very good. So this was the entrance here. We haven't chosen a font yet for our number circles, but here's the entrance to the town. You come in. We'll probably be seeing there's a bunch of footprints that we've added into this terrain here that lead to the forest. This is all the undead feet scuffing up the pathway as they shamble into town and fan out to start killing people. Go to here and then to here, and then somebody like the smithy here was described that somebody limped away to the commons area. So that's why we're having blood trails here. This is the sheriff's, the constabulary, where the Thorpe constable has both the brig as well as this apartment. So this place got jumped by, you can see undead feet going to the steps here, as well as back this way. But undead will have to open up that door. So when they come in, and this door is open, and this door is open, you'll see that it'll be pretty evident that undead came up in through here, started taking some chunks out of the constable. The constable then retreats back to the apartment for the mayor's apartment. This is the commons area, and this is the apartment for the mayor, and the back office to the commons area, and the front porch to the mayor's homestead or apartment here. So the dwarf makes his way from the constabulary into the mayor's office, and well, once we get here, you'll see what a bloody mess this place is. There's actually a journal that the team can find here as well that has a diary accounting of how it went from normal to concern to deadly, since the team gets there too late. And if the team gets there while the village is still alive, that diary acts as a timekeeper for when they're having a conversation with the mayor about the weirdness that happens in town. The DM can use that diary as a timepiece to keep track of what happened when inside the town. That's leading to clues that lead the characters into the forest to the north that leads to the dungeon where all the undead stuff is happening. So that's the thought process behind it. So right now we're going through, I know that I need to open doors here. I know that I need to add a bloody hammer to the on top of the anvil here, but that's, I believe, as far as we got last session. So I've got a timer going that's keeping us on track. I've probably got maybe like another hour and like 80 minutes. So I'll set a 20-minute timer here and let that start ticking down. And I'm gonna put some more water in my cup before I dive into this. Yeah, we did a lot of playtesting on this. We had like maybe 16 some odd people that came through, played as parts of different groups. We had like 2 or 3 different versions of the dungeons, and we had about 3 different scenarios for the town until we worked out where we're at right now. And there's a bunch of little vignette encounters that you can pepper in as random encounters along the way if you want to as well. So it was a lot of fun building it out. Let's see, Forest Path, we have that marked up already. The Constabulary, we already tore apart. Smithy, we just resolved the Smithy after the attack. Now, okay, so now we're at the Lumber Mill. This is the Smithy, and then the Lumber Mill is here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could probably change these numbers around to make a little bit more sense, but as it is, Lumber Mill. The Lumber Mill sits at the edge of the forest. The building is large, but it doesn't look like it has been busy. There is very little lumber stacked up for processing. Before the attack, the mill workers don't seem to be doing much. The few who look like they are working are cleaning the saw blades. Before all the problems started in the forest, the mill was an important cog to the Thorpe's survival. The saw blades ran night and day to furnish the lumber desperately needed to continue building new farm homesteads. The adventurers will notice that the loggers in the mill are spending a lot of time cleaning a strange substance off of the saw blades. Closer inspection or discussion with the workers reveals that there is a particular residue on the latest batch of timber from a deep section of the woods. The small black crystalline flecks have been sticking to the blades, reducing their effectiveness. The residue also clings to the skin if touched, irritating it if not washed off quickly and thoroughly. If asked about this residue, the loggers complain that the air feels gritty and that since the residue began showing up a few days ago, they've experienced dry crusted tears and shortness of breath. If asked where the lumber has come from, the mill workers will point in the rough direction and say that it came from fairly deep in the forest, and that the loggers said that there was a strange haze hanging in the air there. The Red Wolf mercenaries appear while the loggers were working, but won't let them return to the forest. The mill workers have been passing around their theories about what is going on in the forest. We introduced the Red Wolf mercenaries earlier on as representing themselves as a military operation that is investigating strangeness in the forest, and they state that strangeness is generally classified, and that any peasants, especially undocumented peasants that are in refugee camps at the edge of the woods like this one, stay clear and there won't be any problems for anybody. So they're attempting to use intimidation to keep displaced soldiers from the last war ends. Hundreds of thousands of able bodies are now no longer conscripted to fight amongst the different nations. Now they return home, and they're turning swords to plowshares and starting farms. And a lot of these people are want to remain off the grid. There's a lot of refugees from, say, Seir. Since Seir got destroyed and it's now the Mournland, a lot of those northern edge Seirans are now basically displaced and homeless inside of Karnath. So them having a low profile and not really talking about their history is a good reason for them to stay quiet. So they're intimidated. So that's a hostility that stands between the first wave of guardians inside of the forest, the Red Wolf mercenaries, before getting into the into the underground dungeons where the undead are coming from. So anyway, there's that. So if asked where the lumber coming from, the mill workers. Okay, great. The mill workers have been passing around their theories about what is going on in the forest. Here's a rumor mill. 1 to 4. The dragon below is poisoning our land with some sort of blight. Evil spirits haunt the northern forests. No wonder the area wasn't claimed when we arrived here. 3, obviously Fae. We left a bowl of milk out last night to make sure we were on their good side, and it was empty this morning. That proves it. And number 4, I heard that there was a huge tree made from black gemstones. This stuff must be its seeds. These are all fun ideas that the team is happy to go wild with. But after the attack, the saw blade sits in silence. There are a few logs stacked up ready for processing. One of them looks like it was dropped and abandoned while being moved. A few tools are scattered around on the ground. The few logs stacked in the shade of the lumber mill are covered in black crystals, the crystals of Mabar, the namesake for the adventure. More of these crystals have been forming in the darker recesses of the mill and beneath the few scattered piles of lumber that remain. Characters with a passive perception score of 14 will notice small pieces of rotting flesh caught on the mill's blade, now rimmed with a coarse, putrid-smelling moss, also known as plague moss. Fresh footprints and a light blood trail leads towards the Commons, Thorpe Area 10. So, we need to stack up some crystals, and I need a blood splatter trail. Easy enough. And we'll need to scatter tools and stuff around. Like all these boxes and stuff are separate assets buried in the layers of the document. So what I will need to do is once I get all the blood stuff taken care of, I'm going to need to pick apart each room composition and rearrange the stuff in the rooms to, indicate a battle was occurring. So, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Right now, we're just gonna make more bloods. So, let's see. We are in the Gore house. Let's back this up. Gore. Smithy Gore. Let's go with Lumber Gore. There we go. This will probably be less of a freewheeling open mic sort of session since we're playing with the actual text content and it's small activities per location. So I'm not anticipating a large amount of banter. This is more of a production session than I think others, because it's, we have to think a little bit more than I normally like to. Since I'm goring up the map, I made this observation last session that, if you're seeing blood soaked on the blade here, You probably don't actually need to worry about your passive perception check about whether you see this happening or not, because the players can see it because of the aesthetics that we're including. I feel like it should be there anyway. Just reasons. Let's go like this. Let's put a splatter like that. I don't necessarily think that's a light blood splattering, but break that up a little bit though. There we go. Picks up some speed, has more and more space between the splatters. Oof, big old bloody bits. Drop it down a little bit here. Smudge it into the landscape a little bit, into the canvas is what I'm trying to say. There we go. I'm really looking forward to the next adventure that we build. It'll probably be a Kickstarter, and I'm thinking the adventure building guide that I was talking about at the beginning of the session, which was the origins of this adventure, like the brainchild of this adventure in the first place. The random adventure generator that I was building prior to this. I'm thinking, Keith Baker's pretty much leaving Eberron at this point for greener pastures, so I don't know how much momentum DMsGuild is going to maintain for Eberron content until the OGL thing knocked over the apple cart. It was pretty much a guaranteed thing that Eberron adventures sell pretty well on the DMsGuild, and Keith was regularly active in the community building content, and it seems like he's left for different systems, less threatened licensing options for different systems and new worlds. Obviously, he's qualified to build interesting worlds, so he'll have a following wherever he goes and decides to do. It's just a shame that he wants to that everyone got sidebarred so hard, because it was like, and you're pretty much guaranteed to sell 100 adventures if you put an adventure on the DMsGuild for Eberron and it's worth a crap. If it's horrible, it'll go copper. You'll sell 50 of them, no problem. If it's good, you'll sell silver or even gold. So there was a lot of incentive there to be able to accumulate some accolades in adventure design by building it via Eberron, which is my favorite D&D campaign setting anyway. Most of my default world campaigns are in Eberron. I mean, like I do Planescape and I do Spelljammer, but when I'm on the prime material, it's always Eberron. Though I am a fan of the Outlands. I like the infinite space of the Outlands, having basically limitless hex crawl capability. I always liked that about the Great Wheel in D&D cosmology, is the infinite space where you can have just absurd hex crawls. Like you could have millions of miles worth of hex crawl through the Happy Hunting Ground, or like the Beastlands, for instance. Super fun. Or like Avernus can have thousands upon thousands of miles of bunker trenches for the Blood Wars to be fought inside. And I actually want to build a Blood War bunker toolkit, but that, I was assuming I was going to go in the DMsGuild as well, but because the Blood War. But I may just brand it generically to be Bunkers of the Abyss or something like that. I don't know what I would do. But hey, Ken, how you doing? Nice. Yeah, I love Eberron. It's been my favorite campaign setting pretty much since it came out in the early 2000s. It's like 2005, 2006, something like that. But God, yeah, it had such great flavor. Such great flavor. That feels pretty good. We can just do that. So, yeah. That's all we really need to do for the lumber, lumber mill, sawmill, what's it called? Lumber mill. There's a lot of mills here. Let's go to the grain mill next. Let's see. So, grain mill. Box set. So there's before the attack, and then there's after the undead attack. And then there's just the general description. So box text. The windmill blades of this building, which seems dedicated to grinding grain, can be seen from a fair distance. As you approach, you can see that the mill looks extremely well made with quality precision cut lumber. Before the attack, the sound of stones grinding here competes with the hammer falls coming from the smithy and the grain as the grains from nearby farms are ground into powder. If the characters question the mill workers about any unusual observations, they express their concern that the Red Wolf mercenaries might attempt to seize food stores from the Thorpe if they stay much longer, and there's not much the town could do to stop them without risking violence. But after the attack, the grain mill is now cold and empty. The smells of fermented grain mix with a fetid rot that threatens to overwhelm the senses. Bags of grain haphazardly strewn about are now spotted with mold and moisture from the frequent rains, and have been split open by birds and rodents seeking untended food. Any characters looking more closely at the sacks of grain with a passive perception score of at least 10 will find the flowers infested with a coarse moss that smells like rotting flesh. Plague moss, which is in I think it's the second appendix. A character succeeding on a DC 12 Wisdom Investigation or Survival check can follow the weathered tracks leading from the mill to the storage barn and back. A character who exceeds the DC by at least 5 will note that the bare ground from the mill headed to the Commons, Thorpe Area 10, is marked with scrapes that resemble nail-cleated boots. Oh, crap. I forgot the crystals. I gotta dump in a bunch of crystals into the nooks and crannies of the sawmill before we actually move on. Crystals. Here we go. Here's our crystal icon, nearly black. Here. So these crystals grow in the puddles of blood, and once you actually enter the manifest zone, the crystals grow everywhere. It's these crystals is basically the proto what's the word I'm trying to use? It's like the base. It's like the base soil of the plane of Mabar. Like Mabar is a world, right? It's its own realm of existence with a ground. The ground is made from these crystals essentially, and it has its own undeadly plant life and its own creatures, like ultralofts, for example. Ugolofts, that's what the word is. The Ugoloft demons are native to Mabar, along with like shades, shadows, night stalkers, all those horrible things that go bump in the night, including like ghasts and ghouls, grinners, and stuff like that. So the manifest zone being held open artificially with the ritual that the Emerald Claw necromancers are performing in the fortress of the dungeon in the forest, defended by the Red Wolf mercenaries, holding the unnaturally opening and then artificially keeping it open beyond its normal limitations is causing the other plane to slowly terraform the location that is coterminous here on Eberron, and as it remains open, it continues to spread. And so there's this mist, this wind that blows from the north. The mountains are to the north, the ocean is to the north. So naturally, wind patterns are going to sweep southward into the Midlands, which is it goes from mountains down hills into flat grassland. So it's natural that wind would come down off the north, off of those mountains, and then break across the forest and then out into the lands. And when those winds come down off the mountains, they catch the manifest zone and then push the fetid air out of the manifest zone into the forest, and it's just being circulated by, weather patterns out. And this is the first village to be hit by it. But if the threat goes unnoticed long enough, it just continues to accumulate, and more people get sick, and then the undead starts to emerge out from the manifest zone and start, seeking living flesh or whatever. Seeking living people, anyway. Whatever that line is from Night of the Living Dead. There's a radio broadcaster talking about what's been observed about the zombies. I was trying to quote that, but I botched the quote. So there you go. But this is the font that this is the brush that we've consistently been using for the crystals throughout all the other maps, like from map like episode 50 to 140. Is about around 200 hours worth of map content of me building out all the dungeons, fortresses, and environments where the players have encounters during this adventure. And this has been the crystal pattern that we've been using throughout the document, and so it kind of has its own little language that's going on with it, which I've absolutely loved developing. But the description that we had from this location was that there was crystals growing in the nooks of the facility, of the lumber mill. So that's what we're doing right now, is we're finding all the corners, and we're starting to build crystals into them, because this is how it starts. And now that undead have killed here, the place just attracts that taint from now on. It's like taint is probably the best word. I don't know if any of you guys ever messed around with Rokugan at all. Legend of the Five Rings. In 3rd edition, I think it was Ronin Press. I think I gotta arrange my seat. But I think it was Ronin. I think it was Green Ronin. That was the company. Green Ronin Publishers. I believe they were the ones that were that got the Legend of the Five Rings license to build into a 3rd edition / D20 OGL licensed game system that was compatible with D&D. And Rokugan's fucking cool. I love all the different clans named after animals. I love how deep the lore is between alliances and hatred between those clans, even down to like distinct insults that one clan will make to another. Like what is it? It's the Lion Clan. The Lion Clan have a dual sword style, while the Crane Clan has a one sword, has like a single blade combat style. So the Lion Clan have a joke about the Crane. It's because the Crane have a mantra: one mind, one body, one sword. And so the Lion Clan make a joke out of it. They say one mind, one body, one sword, two hands. So it's like their insult that their philosophy is flawed, and that flaw can be demonstrated in that they only use a single sword in combat, while Lion uses a wakizashi and a katana together as a 2-weapon style. So they make fun of Crane for not being as unified as they like to think, like they like you to think that they are, because their fighting style is flawed. Like if they were really like if they really believed in what they believed in, they would only use one hand. They'd have a free hand or whatever. So anyway, as I understand, I don't know all of them, but I understand all the different clans have like snarky shit like that they say about each other, and I love that. I absolutely love that. And the reason I brought it up is because the taint that you can get by like you can get tainted by touching dead creatures. Like you don't loot in that game. Like characters can't loot, because if they do, you're taking things off of bodies, and there's a chance you can accumulate taint from doing that. And if you accumulate too much taint, like your spellcasters can't cast magic anymore because they're tainted. Or you can start taking on physical deformities, and if anyone notices them, you get exiled and you lose all your rank, and you're dishonored and you're cast out. While there's other classes that specialize in manipulating and interacting with taint to their advantage against how the ruling clans, what they're allowed to touch and can't touch. But like all the ruling clans, like they have a lot of resources. Like they can get munitions and they can get spell components and research time and all this highbrow shit. But they just can't touch any bodies. So they can't loot anything. So you can have like two different styles of adventuring teams when you're playing Rokugan. You can play tainted or untainted teams, because untainted nobles will not interact with tainted peasants, or worse, dishonored and exiled, tainted exiled expatriates, as it were. So, or tainted exiles is the way I'm supposed to put that. So you basically build your party in one of two ways, and depending on which way you build it is going to really going to lean into how your team is going to acquire resources and what kind of rewards they're going to get. So, like tainted exiles are going to do murder, hobo, run and gun, looting style stuff, and dealing with demonic forces more, because they can get goods off of demons and the dead. So that's a resource they can use, while the untainted nobles are only going to, again, obviously, what's going on? Thank you. Just one more. God, I love that shit. Looks so cool. I'm gonna merge that down. Merging down. Now we can go to the grain. I should probably rename it granary, because there's too many mills in this town. There's too many mills in this town. Do. I'll have to rearrange this lumber, knock it about a bit. Granary. No blood, but footprints. And we have footprints here that lead to the commons. So did we? Oh no! Oh, and there's plague moss. No. There. Okay. So let's see. Catching up again on the grain mill. Plague moss. Okay. Let's go fetch. Momo. Crystals of a bar. Heart. Nope. I'm hoping to open up this document. Let's see. Handouts, doors and things, grid. I think it's in doors and things. Maybe. Yeah, I think it's in doors and things. Let's see. Nope. Not here. Let's. It's somewhere though. Let's go find it. Landscape, trash, intro, creatures. Maybe it's in here. Hook patrons. Oh, App 1, Flora. of course. So this here is plague moss. That grows. That once the crystals settle in, the moss starts to grow on it. And let's see. There's a bunch of stuff. There's the mammoth in the mist, which is like a Venus flytrap large enough to imprison people within and digest them. There's the plague moss, which grows over the crystals once the soil is transformed. There's the Vulpina lichen. This is Vulpina Lotharia. It causes a stinking cloud effect. It fills 5 foot squares, and the 5 foot square that the Vulpina is in is a stinking cloud effect. So you have to make a Constitution saving throw. If you fail the Constitution saving throw, you have to spend your action throwing up. So you only have a bonus action and movement. Some of the creatures, when you kill them, they erupt into piles of Vulpina. So if you're fighting like a mob of freshly killed bodies that get this stuff in them, they bloat up like a swollen balloon, and if you deal any damage to them, they pop and they burst this Vulpina crap everywhere. And so if you're in melee combat with them and they pop on you, then you're gonna have to make a Constitution saving throw, and if you fail it, you're gonna lose your action. And there's a chance of them starting to mob you and then throw up on you and rake at you and do all the undead stuff that undead stuff do. Let's see. There's the ferric ivy. It's like razor wire, from the Planescape setting. It's like razor vine. That's the word, razor vine. It's just a weed that grows up out of the soil, and it's strong enough to be used as steel. So you could technically harvest this stuff and use it as an alternate metal content, but it's tainted. You know, it's got the evil of Mabar on it. So undead are resistant to it. And this is the florets of Mabar, which are little like sunflower or like little dandelions. So like little dandelions that sprout out of the soil. Once the moss gets into place, either these florets will bloom from it, or it'll create Vulpina, or it'll create yellow caps. So the moss is like a base species for other types of floral life from Mabar to further grow from there. And wherever these florets go, wherever these little airborne seeds float, wherever they hit, it spawns more plague moss, and the plague moss will kill the soil underneath it, and then the soil gets converted to crystals, and then from those crystals the moss gets reinforced, and it'll sprout more florets or Vulpina or yellow caps, whatever it does. And so here's the emerald caps, which are this yellowish mushroom stuff, and these create you can actually grind these up and create night vision. You can make an ointment that you can rub on your eye, and it'll give you night vision for like an hour or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, these are the different plants and stuff that we have in the adventure. So the plague moss is present in the flower, so I need to grab a plague moss color like that. That'll work, probably. I'm gonna go to these bags of flour, and let's grab a different type of brush. Let's see, what brush do we want to use for the soil? Any wood texture will work. Huh. I don't know. Not horrible. Yeah, it's actually not too bad. Blah, blah. Okay. But not like that. Blah, blah, blah. And again, these ability checks that we're making to notice stuff is kind of like a dead giveaway when you actually just like look at the place, because it's we're dropping these colors and textures like blood trails and stuff. Like you don't need to make a check to see that there's a giant puddle of blood over here. So there's a slight disconnect there that I'm willing to acknowledge, but I don't feel bad about, honestly, offhand. Oh, that looks great. I love that. That's pretty good. I like that. Bruh. Is that all we had going on in here? Just some dirty grain and footsteps? Yeah, because the place wasn't being used that night, of course. There's a grain. Okay, so grain storage, right. So the silo here, a towering cylindrical storage facility, is easily the tallest structure in the Thorpe. The air near the structure carries a strong odor of freshly cut grains. Several chickens scratch at small piles of grain scattered around the silo. Before the attack, several workers are milling about, hauling large bags of grain. The workers here are happy to break the monotony of hauling and storing grain bags and speak with the visitors. It's so boring we say grain bag or bag of grain like 3 times. The workers tell the party that the regular delivery of grain to the Thorpe is slowed to a crawl. Farmers in some of the outlying areas fear traveling near the forest. There are rumors that the Carnwood is haunted, and several people have gone missing after entering the woodlands in the past weeks, which is true. The workers can also show the party some strange moss, plague moss, and odd black crystals in the bar, that have begun showing up on some of the grain bags lately. After the attack, the lonely tower sits quietly as a light breeze causes the rusty weather vane to squeak and begin to spin. The strong smell of fermenting grain permeates the area, suggesting that the grain left here has been abandoned for days. Loose grain covers the ground around the silo, and fresh bloody footprints cross the area, leading in all directions. A character who examines the tracks will easily see that more of them lead towards the commons than anywhere else. Thorpe Area 10. All characters who approach the silo will hear heavy scratching noises coming from inside. If the characters open the door, D6 ghouls that are trapped inside the silo will attack any living creatures they see. Ghouls! They're smart, they're stuck. I still got a good 45 minutes. I should be able to get all the blood work done, and then when we come back on Monday, we can rearrange the furniture for the post battle, and then once we get that finished, we'll go back to the farm, finish the crops, bloody up the farm, the homestead that needs to be bloodied up, and fill some of the not all the homesteads are abandoned yet, so we'll have a furnished homestead, we'll have an abandoned homestead, and we'll have a bloodied homestead. 3 different maps for visiting the different farms in the outlying area. Let's see. Use grain. Bloody Prince. Okay. I'll see your grain. I don't know / care what color grain is supposed to be. I am using white. Because I said so. This seems like a fun thing to do. Yes, Timely Timer. Thank you for keeping time. Got 40 minutes. I know there's other ways to do this, but this is the way I'm choosing to do it. It's relaxing. Stipples are relaxing. Stipple, 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 stipple. In another life, I was an ASMR performer. I'm kind of happy I'm here instead of there, not gonna lie. But I acknowledge it. So you have Ghoul and Zombie and Yugoloth and all sorts of creature tokens that we need to make. Shambling Mounds, Otyugs, Staropers, Puddins. Not to mention, cultists and necromancers and mercenaries. We got a lot of NPC tokens we're gonna make. It's if you go to my Spelljammer stream, like around, I want to guess it's like around episode 120, or maybe it was episode 120. It may have been episode 70. I'm not positive. Anyway, we spent a shit ton of hours on making colored 1-inch tokens for all the NPCs and creatures that are in Light of Xeraxis as well as in Boo's Menagerie for combat with ships. So you guys are welcome to check that out if you want to see my process of creating tokens. And about, I think, like 20 some odd episodes ago, I was working on the plot hook NPC portraits. Sort of the same thing, except they'll be more, more action-y, posy, sort of something. But I like doing that work a lot. Like doing tokens is just quality time. It's very creative. It's free flow, and it's stuff that I can eventually just convert into stock art. So it's productive beyond just the product that I'm building it for. It's just I can do pirates, and with this I can do like necromancers and undead and packaging like that. I'm loving that Patreon now has a marketplace that I can, when I'm finished with some of these projects, I'll have enough bandwidth available for me to make one of my projects converting all my stock art to do all the packaging for all that stuff, so I can sell it on my Patreon, because I want to start offering stock art through Patreon. It works really well for Dean Spencer and Rob Twoey and Rick Herschel, a whole bunch of people that I honestly admire a lot. That is like, I'm good enough to do that sort of stuff, so I'm going to do that stuff too. So like, they all have like unlimited licensing, like use the stock art that you buy infinitely, as long as you're like a $1 subscriber to the Patreon, and then sell all the stock art through the Patreon. That's a viable model. And since I'm going to be redoing all the magic art that I have in my Color Mana Spell Point variant rules for 2024 rule translations, I'll be doing a cleanup and glam up of all the artwork that's in those books, and potentially new art as well, while I go through that process next year. So that's a really great opportunity for me to start diving into getting serious about building stock art and you know, actually build some momentum on that. I know I'm good enough to actually, I have some stock art that's for sale on DMsGuild and DTRPG, very minimal, but I get sales every month, even with the little amount of work that I actually have up, which is a good indication that if I actually leaned into my artwork and kept the costs low, I'd be able to pull some decent revenue. It's just that makes it a business. Like, I get the, like, even the stuff that I get to do, and I do just because I enjoy it, even that can be a pain in the ass. I fucking hate packaging. I do not enjoy making product packaging or product page or all that shit. I don't like doing it. It feels administrative and not creative. I have this muse that lives in my brain, and she's constantly screaming at me, do this. And by this, she means whatever the next painting is, or the next book is, or the next massive project. And she doesn't think I want you to pull back on the throttle a little bit for like 3 months and buff out all your stock art so we can start affording an advertising budget for when you start doing Kickstarters, you know? Like, that would be a great thing to do. But she's like, no. Artist. And I'm like, okay, we do what we're inspired to do. So I'm trying to inspire her to hire an accountant that can be like a money muse, that can inspire me to do financially smart decisions, so I can build this to a place where I could actually quit my day job and like be on stream 8 hours a day, putting in the hours of work, building Kickstarters and all the art assets, and doing community shit with like play testing, and have all the time in the world I could possibly want to do all this stuff. And at the end of the day, have a normal social life at night. That's the fucking dream, man. To be able to make this hobby my day job, so that I can be free to have like, so I can actually build like a home table here and host people and come over and be angry that somebody didn't buy enough pretzels or whatever while we play D&D, and just fucking play D&D. And then go out to a bar another night, or, you know, go dancing or whatever. Right now, it's like I work a 40-hour day job and I work a 50-hour side hustle. And it doesn't leave me a lot of time to do jack shit other than keep striving. So I got to start working smarter so I can build in that quality of life. Like, what's the point of building something successfully if I can't, if all it is building a prison, you know? It has to create a level of freedom for me to feel like I'm gaining from it. Like, building a job for yourself isn't much of a reward, because you're taking all the liability and risk. If all you're going to do is have a job, then work for somebody else, so you don't have to worry about all the administration and liability issues and the insurance and all that blah 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 blah. all the bullshit that goes along with it. But if you can build a business that's strong enough that that has a marketplace where people can buy shit while I'm asleep, that's a smart thing to do. So anyway, I'm talking business, so I'm gonna stop. Not a lot of people are on here to listen to me lament about business practices. I acknowledge this. But it's stuff that I think about, so I share it with you. We try to be honest here. Like, this is honest stream, talking about honest shit. So I want to jump back into here. Ooh. Mama. Yes. Let's go back to this brush here and Kat, I've plucked more than a couple songs off of those playlists that you shared with me a while ago, so thank you. I'm really enjoying the music that I have on this channel now. It's very satisfying. Wham, wham. Pop your finger, pop your neck. Let's do like that so I don't destroy my popcorn. Good texturing. What else did you have to say about this place? Loose grain covers the ground around the silo, and fresh bloody footprints cross the area, leading in all directions. A character who examines the tracks will easily see that more of them lead towards the commons, Theurgy 10, than anywhere else. Caps, son. I gotta say, Stuart Braz is our editor, and he has just completely killed it, man. Hey, Zona. Yeah, I honestly, I don't know when you stepped into the... Hold on, let me see when you stepped into the conversation. Let's see. There's no timestamp? Huh. Sorry, Zona, I don't know when you asked that. But yeah, these are all maybe I explained it while you were here. It's all different types of plant life that grows in the plane of Mabar, which is the realm of darkness, evil, and things that go bump in the night. So it's all, yeah, at the beginning of opening up that document, I talked about the ecology of like what causes those different plants to grow and the life cycles and the symbiotic relationship that they have with each other. So you can check that out. It was like maybe a 7-minute diatribe I went into. Bloody footprints. Let's go. Ba-dip-bip-boo-boo. Ba-dip-bip-boo-doo-doo-doo-boo. I need to... Hello. Bloody footprints. Okay, blood. Blood goes to the commons. So I guess the most logical... Ooh. This will make it easier. There we go. Let's go. Okay, I've got some sort of time lag. That's okay. We're good now. Get these cucumbers off the ground. Scare my cat. Smudge that stuff in. Settling in now. There we go. It's a little excessive, perhaps. Let's thin it down a touch. Thin that up a bit. Good. Come on, there you are. Whew, that time delay when I open up that roof, it's brutal. Come on, buddy. You can do it. It's a really big document. It Photoshop chokes on it a little bit when I have OBS open for streaming, along with streaming music and yada yada yada. She has to open a hole that falls into the granary inside. There's a bunch of ghouls that fell through the roof and landed in the granary, and they're stuck in there because there's no internal openings. We're doing good. We're almost done. We got the stables, and we got the commons, and then that's it for the blood marks. And then we'll come back on Monday and add in the word I'm looking for is rearranging the furniture, knocking stuff around. Right. Close that up for now. And I think we're good on storage. What's next? Stabilities. And then the community. Well, okay, so stables. Sitting behind the Commons building, Area 9. Near the town center lies the Thorpe's Stables, a two-story building of rough lumber with a large holding pen attached to the barn. Several beasts of burden lumber about the pen, grazing on a pile of hay. Is that true? Did we keep a pen? Yeah, I don't see it. All right, we're gonna have to rearrange that. I gotta rework that description. Several workers are tending to the animals in a large pen outside the stable. Large bales of hay and straw are in piles everywhere around the structure. A cat stalks across the top of a hay bale on the lookout for rodents. A character who observes the animals and makes a successful DC 12 Wisdom Animal Handling check will notice that the farrier is having a difficult time attempting to change a shoe on a skittish horse. If questioned, the farrier says that the horse just came back from hauling lumber from a remote part of the forest and hasn't been right since its return. The farrier says that this isn't the first beast of burden to show this odd behavior recently. I just need to rework this so that it's inside. The cat's walking along bales of hay to find the bags of grain, like oats that they're feeding them. So I just need to rework the language on here a little bit. Approaching the stables, it's evident that something chaotic. That's before, and then after. After the attack, approaching the stables, it's evident that something chaotic and destructive occurred here recently. The broken main doors barely hang on their hinges, and large sections of the fence have been smashed. A character who succeeds on a DC 10 Intelligence Investigation Wisdom Animal Handling check can see that the animals kept here attempted to escape en masse, destroying the pen and part of the stables. When any adventurer approaches the barn, a putrid smell will meet them, and they must succeed on a DC 10 Constitution saving throw or lose their last meal in their belly. The smell of death and decay looms heavy on sounds of flesh tearing from inside. D4 ghouls, passive perception. DC 10 are in the barn picking the remains of the Thorpe's animals that didn't escape. While they are distracted by their feast, adventurers have advantage on any dexterity stealth checks made to navigate the barn unnoticed. If the check fails, the ghouls notice the characters and attack. So we need to have a dead horse token, ghoul tokens, dead villager tokens once we get inside of the Thorpe. Yeah, more than anything else, we need to rework that wording. But there will be blood. Oh yes, there will be blood. Let's get after it. Oh, that's fun. So we'll just put dead horses here and here. Maybe another one over here. So here's the thing about barns, right? If you have a plot of land and you're going to build a barn on it, you're going to have posts that you drive into the ground, but this ground is uneven. So you're going to build a wall that basically does like this. God, I'm really good. All right, but you can see there's a gap down here at the bottom. You know, you get your roof. And this spot becomes your uncle. So here's your house, but there's this gap here. What they're not going to do is spend 500 hours with a rake or a shovel and level this all off somehow. So that's perfectly flat, so they can drop some sort of a stone block here to stabilize the base and then build into it. No, these guys have medieval technology available to them. They're going to drive thick posts equidistant from each other deep enough into the ground to be a foundation, and then they're going to get the wood as close to the ground as they can, but there's going to be a gap. So that's coincidentally why houses are also built on these these posts, because they'll put a wooden base with this crawl space underneath it, and then they build up their walls on top of that, and they have their door and their house like that, and like blah 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 blah. There you go, the house. This is our home, blah blah blah. But it has this gap underneath it. That's why really old houses still have that crawl space underneath it. Good, like a lot of them will have stone built up around the base. That's to help wall off that crawl space from having vagrants crawling underneath there to either cut their way into the house or to hide out during the wintertime or whatever it is that vagrants do underneath the bottom of houses. But that's how old structures were built. So that's why when I'm doing these blood-stained puddles where the horses will be dead, why I'm painting outside beyond the wall, because these aren't hermetically sealed environments. It's going to have this leak through, like I just described. From stall to stall, and from stall, and then from to outside as well. This is how the barns on the ranch that I grew up on were built. And that was during the 80s, so like that wasn't very long ago. But that's how you build. That's how you build an old school barn. We had two halves to our barns. We had the older barn that was built the way that I just described it, and then when I say we, I mean my father, put down a concrete slab, like I was just describing, next to the older structure, and basically secured a larger storage barn onto the smaller. We had enough space for 1, 2, 3. We had enough space for 4 horses in the barn, and that's the maximum amount of horses that we wanted to be able to. We wanted to room and board anyway. We initially had our own horses, me, my father, my mother, and my sister, and then when she went off to college, and it was pretty obvious that I can't see well enough to safely operate a horse. No more than am I safe to operate a car. Horses have to trust that their rider is in charge and they know where they're going and what they're doing, and they can properly point the horse in the right direction. I am incapable of doing that. Horses love me, and I love horses. We get along really, really well, but they can't trust me to lead them to where because they're surrendering control to the rider. And again, I don't have the ability to see far enough ahead for the horse to trust to know what I'm doing. It's always waiting on me, and if it waits too much, it starts to take its own actions, and that's when I can get bucked. So it's dangerous. So I just had to I had to give up riding the horses, but I got to scoop all their shit. So I was pretty pissed off about my childhood. I really hated living on that ranch. Like I felt like my parents didn't get what I was going through, like at fucking all. so much rage inside of me about how I was raised. It's pretty impressive. I impress myself with how much resentment and anger I harbored towards my father. And I adored him as well. He was a superhero. He was like one of those impossible men that can literally do anything they set their mind to. It's a little absurd. And I'm proud to have acquired that. I feel like I acquired that trait from him. So I mean, I deeply honor him. And I worshipped him like a god growing up, but I also hated him. I hated him for how much shit he had me going through. Just from his, I understand his perspective. If I shit on my son hard enough, the rest of the world isn't going to be anything to him. And he'll already be strong enough to be able to handle it when he's no longer under his protective care. And I will give him credit, it worked. But the collateral cost was me really just loathing him for such a deep amount of tough love. Just cruel. Petals. There's plenty enough. Oh yeah. And I want to put some of that stuff in here. I'm dogging on my dad today, but hey, you know. He passed away. He's cool with it. I talk to him occasionally still. He apologized. It was cool. I told him I love him. Blah, blah, blah. There we go. Not bad. Call this stable. See. Community well. At the Thorpe Center is a large stone well, 6 feet in diameter and 4 feet in height, with a bucket and pulley system above the water basin. The ground around it is well worn from use. With the Thorpe now empty, the well seems like one of the few locations untouched by violence. Several dogs are sprawled out napping nearby. As you approach, there is obviously something odd about these dogs. Their fur is weird, iridescent green color, punctuated with oozing open wounds. A black, crystalline crust seems to be forming over their eyes and wounds. Although horrifying in appearance, the strange dogs, plague hounds, see Appendix 1, show no aggression. Instead, the canines seem to want to help the adventurers with something nearby. Any adventurer passing a successful DC 10 animal handling or charisma persuasion check can calm the dogs, allowing a closer look. The character can clean the animal's wounds with a successful DC 14 wisdom medicine check, though it takes healing magic or a successful DC 18 wisdom medicine DC 18 check to fight any infections and disease the animals have. If the character assists the dogs, they will growl at the commons area, Thorpe area. 10. Indicating that something about the structure concerns them and refuse to go near it. If the party heads in that direction, the dogs whine and bark nervously. And then the comments. So there's nothing actually going on here at the well other than I need some wounded dog tokens, which I'll be happy to provide. Commons. The wooden structure has a high arched roof, a small bell tower, a large bay door with a small office in the back, off the main frame of the building. The building's location in the center of the thoroughfare shows its importance in community life. Before the attack, you're waved over by a middle-aged fellow in woodman's clothing, hailing you from the porch at the back of the building. We don't get many visitors here. You've come to help? If the sheriff is with the characters, the mayor will trust that the sheriff has already confirmed the characters are benevolent. If the characters are alone, the mayor will question them in a manner similar to the sheriff above. to listen to any dodgy explanations as to why they've traveled here. A charisma, deception, or persuasion check of DC 12 or higher will satisfy the mayor that the characters don't mean harm. Once the mayor is confident the characters are there to help, he invites them to see his journal, which discusses the strange events that have happened over the past months of the year. The sheriff has notation about what happens if you just piss him off. Once the mayor is confident the characters are there to help, he invites them to see his journal, which discusses the strange events that have happened over the past few months in the area. See the Theurgy journal handout or the journal details at the end of the section. In the meantime, he will share carrot cake and a pitcher of crushed berries mixed with well water with the characters. Once the heroes have absorbed the information shared by the mayor, he's content that the heroes asking about town, around town, about events, but they will find that the villagers are unanimous in believing trouble points towards the forest, where the Red Wolf mercenaries, where the Red Wolf mercenaries have denied travelers access to the deeper regions within. If the characters are unable to win the trust of the mayor, the sheriff will allow them to purchase or trade any common supplies before directing them to leave town. The characters can attempt to find shelter in an abandoned farmhouse or in woods nearby. That evening, if the characters are still nearby, they will hear the undead attack as described below. After the attack, when the villagers were attacked, the initial survivors ran for the commons building to gain protection, but they got in through the back office and no one survived. The undead remain inside with a growing colony of Vulpina of the Tharia. The larger bay doors at the front of the barn-shaped structure are shut and locked from the inside. Pulling the doors open requires a successful DC 21 strength athletics check or characters with a combined strength of 50 working together for 2 rounds to break the chains inside. As the characters deal with the locked door, a thick, rotten scent wafts from the cracks, and the sound of muted whimpers can be heard from within. These are the rasps of fresh dead as they lurch their way towards the sounds at the door. If the characters don't open the doors within 3 rounds, they begin banging their limbs against the hefty bay doors. They have neither the strength to break them nor the intelligence to remove the locks. When they continue banging on the door for 10 minutes, crowd at the front of the building, DM's notes. They will continue banging on the doors for 10 minutes, crowd at the front of the building. If the party is unable to open the doors, they can find an open entrance behind the commons at location 10D. And then they have all the commons interior area. Don't think I'm going to mess with this today. I think I'm going to leave this one for Monday because I want to bail out of here for tonight, get some sleep, come back tomorrow morning, continue working on Spelljammer, and then we'll be back on Saturday morning to work on the book cover commission that we are getting close to done with. And then we'll be back again on Monday for more Spelljammer in the morning. We'll have Eberron like this in the evening where we'll do the commons area like we're talking about. And once the commons area is done, we'll start roughing up all the furniture. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we do more Spelljammers in the morning. We'll do martial powers development for the monks starting on Tuesday. We'll also be back. We'll actually be here, I think, on Thursday and Friday too. Probably doing more martial powers stuff. I'm starting to ramp up planning for the martial powers playtesting. That's going to happen when the Spelljammer book is done, and the Spelljammer book is close to being done. So by New Year, we should have a stream rolling here with Eberron in the mornings, and then doing martial powers stuff on Mondays, Thursday nights, as well as my lunch streams. Saturday, I think I'm going to stop doing commissions and continue doing little projects, like little Spelljammer projects, like ship maps maybe, or commission stuff. Maybe start building out assets for stock art sales, perhaps. But we're gonna be switching things up once Spelljammer is done. So anyway, we're done for now. We're trying to get the 500 subscribers by New Year. It's our next big goal. So if anyone's been hanging out thinking this stuff is cool, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and then catch up with me in the marrow. So thanks a lot for being here, guys. I'm going to take off for now, and I'll see you then. Laters.